The fluorescent light in this foreclosure office in Raleigh hums. It's an annoying high-pitched sound that seems to drill right into my skull. It's the only sound, really, besides the bank representative shuffling papers. He looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Across a cheap table, my family sits. My father, David, is slumped, his face gray. My mother, Karen, is twisting a damp tissue, shredding it into tiny pieces. And then, my twin sister, Alexis. Her face, so identical to mine, is a mask of pure entitlement and rage. "You have to fix this, Maya," she hisses, her voice cutting through the silence. "He just said they're foreclosing today. Do something. We're family. Family." I let that word hang in the air, tasting like ash. I look at my mother, who refuses to meet my eyes, staring instead at a water stain on the carpet. I look at my father, who just looks defeated. He financed this defeat, one bad decision at a time, all for the golden child sitting next to him. "Family," I finally say. My voice is calm even. I'm surprised at how steady it is. That's an interesting word for you to use. "What is that supposed to mean?" She snaps. "Are you going to help us or not?" "It means," I say, leaning forward just an inch, my eyes locking onto hers, "that family doesn't dump your belongings on the curb on the night of your college graduation." The bank representative clears his throat, but I don't look away from them. I watch the color drain from my mother's face. I watch the pure, unadulterated fury rise in Alexis's. This is the moment, the culmination of 8 months of silence. This isn't just about a house. It's about a debt they can't repay, and it's not the one the bank is here to collect. To understand what happened in that bank office, you have to understand what it's like to be the other twin. When you're an identical twin, people don't see you. They see a matched set. "Which one are you?" they'd ask. For my entire life, I was the quiet one, the serious one, the boring one. Alex was the fun one. While I was learning to code in high school, Alex was learning how to pose for Instagram. While I was applying for academic scholarships to NC State, she was figuring out which TikTok audio would go viral. And my parents, David and Karen, they ate it up. They didn't just encourage her, they worshipped her. Her 50,000 followers were a source of family pride, something my father would bring up at Thanksgiving. My Alex, he'd say, "She's a brand." Did he ever mention my Maya? She just won a state-level coding competition. No. Did he ever mention my Maya? She got a full-ride scholarship for her first 2 years. Of course not, because in their eyes, what I did was invisible. It was just expected. I chose software engineering for a reason. I loved logic. I loved that if you had a problem, a bug, you could find it. You could write a line of code, and it would execute a function perfectly every single time. It was clean. It was predictable. It was everything our family life wasn't. I made the smart decision to live at home in Raleigh during college. Why pay for a dorm when I could save money? That was my logic. The reality was, it was miserable. I wasn't just living at home. I was a ghost who paid rent. And I did pay. I worked 20 hours a week in the campus IT lab, a windowless room in the basement of the library, helping other students reset their passwords. I used that money for my textbooks, my gas for the commute, my food on campus. When my old laptop died before my junior year, I didn't ask my parents for a new one. I spent an entire summer working a second job to buy the machine I needed for my senior project. Meanwhile, the Alex show was in full production. She'd tried college for a semester, declared it boring, and dropped out to be a full-time content creator. Do you know what content creator means? It means my parents paid for everything. Her new phone, her ring lights, her endless wardrobe from ASOS and Shein. They paid for her brand-building trips to Miami and New York, all charged to credit cards that I knew were maxed out. When I tried to talk to my mom about it, she'd just wave her hand, flustered. "Oh, Maya, it's an investment. You have to spend money to make money. Alex is building something." "Building what?" I asked her once. "A mountain of debt?" She looked at me, her eyes cold. "Why do you have to be so negative?" "Why can't you be supportive of your sister?" Supportive! That was my job. I was the supporting infrastructure. I was the load-bearing wall holding up the roof so Alexis could dance in the living room. I was the one who fixed the Wi-Fi when it went down, the one who cooked dinner when Mom was too stressed, usually from arguing with the credit card company, the one who drove my dad to the doctor when his back went out. I was the reliable, invisible, dependable utility, and Alexis was the sparkling, expensive, fragile ornament they propped up on the mantle. My senior year was brutal. I was taking a heavy course load, working on my capstone project, and still holding down my IT job. I was aiming for one thing, summa cum laude, the highest honors. I thought, foolishly, that this would be the one thing they couldn't ignore. A gold cord, a Latin phrase on a piece of paper. I imagined them sitting in the audience at graduation, hearing my name called with that distinction. I thought, this time, they'll have to be proud of me. I'd come home late, my brain fried from staring at code, and the house would be in chaos. Music blasting from Alex's room, my parents fawning over some new video she'd posted where she was, I don't know, trying on a new lipstick. Oh, Maya, you're home, my mom would say, not looking up from her phone, scrolling through Alex's feed. Dinner's cold in the fridge. I'd just nod, go to my room, open my laptop, and get back to work. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was building a future for me. I didn't need their approval. But God, I wanted it. I just wanted them, for 1 second, to look at me the way they looked at her. You can't have a star without a spotlight. And in our house, my parents, David and Karen, were the grips, the gaffers, the key financiers, holding up a giant blazing spotlight aimed directly at Alexis. Let's be clear about my sister. Alex wasn't stupid. In fact, she's one of the most brilliant social engineers I've ever met. She learned a long time ago that being pretty and charming wasn't just a trait, it was a weapon. When we were kids, she could get out of any trouble by turning on the waterworks, batting her eyelashes at her dad and saying, I didn't mean to, Daddy. I'm just sensitive. I was the one who was tough. I was the one who could handle it. As she got older, she just scaled the operation. Her content was a masterclass in curated mediocrity. It was videos of her GRWM Get Ready With Me, where she'd spend 40 minutes applying makeup to go to Target. It was hauls of clothes she'd bought with my parents' money, holding them up and saying, isn't this just like everything? It was deeply, profoundly about nothing, but it was shiny. It was positive. And 50,000 people, mostly bots, I suspected, but my parents didn't know the difference, apparently. Agreed. The problem wasn't Alex, not really. The problem was our parents, the enablers. They were so desperate for a win, so terrified of being the boring middle-class couple in a rally suburb that they latched on to Alex's fame as if it were their own. My father, David, was the worst. He works in regional insurance sales, a job he's openly hated for 20 years. He saw himself as a failed entrepreneur, a man who played it safe and regretted it. In Alex, he didn't just see a daughter, he saw a do-over. He saw potential. He loved to use words like monetize and leverage. I remember coming downstairs one night, desperate for coffee to study for my data structures final. He and Alex were at the kitchen table, which was covered in credit card applications. Dad, what are you doing? I asked. We're stacking, Maya, he said, sounding like he'd just watched a YouTube video on the topic. We're leveraging Alex's new 0% APR offer to get the capital for her new camera. This lens she wants, it's what all the big influencers use. It's an investment in the brand. That's not capital, Dad, I said, my voice flat. That's debt. That's a credit card. How are you going to pay it off when the APR kicks in? He looked at me with such pity. You just don't get it, do you? You're all about the safe route, the W-2. Alex is a 1,999, a risk taker. That's where the real money is. By the time that APR kicks in, she'll have a brand deal that pays this off 10 times over. And if she doesn't, stop being so negative, Alex snapped, looking up from her phone. You're just jealous because you're boring and I'm not. My dad just nodded, like she'd delivered a profound business insight. And then there was my mother, Karen. Her job was to be the chief emotional officer of Brand Alex. While my dad handled the imaginary finances, my mom handled the very real emotional fallout. She was the one who would soothe Alex after a video flopped. She was the one who would drive to 3 different Starbucks to get the specific pink drink Alex needed to feel creative. My mom's flaw was simpler. She was a coward. She was terrified of Alex's moods. She was addicted to Alex's approval. She wanted to be the cool mom, the best friend. With me, she didn't have to try. I was independent. I was low maintenance. So she just didn't. Mom, we haven't paid the power bill, I told her quietly one afternoon, holding up a bright red final notice I'd found in the mail. She flinched, grabbing it from my hand. Maya, why were you going through my mail? I'll handle it. I'm not. We're 2 weeks late. I know, she whispered, her eyes darting toward Alex's closed bedroom door. It's just, Alex had a terrible week. Her engagement was down, and she really needed that spa day we booked. It was for her mental health. Her mental health. What about paying the bills? We'll just put it on a card for now, she said. David will figure it out. But he didn't. They were just juggling. They were a 2-person team dedicated to insulating their golden child from the one thing that would have actually helped her, reality. They never asked me what I needed. My competence wasn't a source of pride for them. It was a relief. It meant I was one less thing to worry about. I was the smart one, so I'd figure it out. I was the fixed income bond in their portfolio. Boring, reliable, yielding a tiny, predictable return. Alexis was the crypto they'd bet the entire house on, the one they were sure was going to the moon. Graduation day, at NC State. It was hot, that thick, sticky North Carolina humidity that settles on you like a wet blanket. The PNC arena was packed, a sea of red gowns. When my name was called, I listened for the 2 words I'd nearly killed myself for. Maya, summa cum laude. I walked across the stage. I shook the dean's hand. I took my diploma cover. And as I walked back to my seat, I searched the stands for my family. I finally spotted them. My father was holding his phone up, but he wasn't filming me. He was filming Alex, who was filming herself, pouting with a bored filter for her Instagram story. My mother, beside her, was fanning herself with the program, looking exhausted. Not a single clap, not a smile. They hadn't even heard it. The thing I had sacrificed my sleep, my sanity, and any semblance of a social life for. It was just a noise in a loud arena. When we got back to the house, I was still wearing my gown, still holding the diploma cover. I was clinging to the hope that maybe the real celebration would be at home. And there was a celebration. The driveway was full of cars. Music was thumping. There was a massive congratulations banner strung across the garage. Wow, I said, feeling a small, stupid tear in my eye. You did all this! Of course we did, my dad said, beaming for the first time all day. He slung his arm around Alex, who was preening. It's a huge day! My mom bustled out of the front door, carrying a tray of snacks. Maya, don't just stand there in that hot thing. Go put the rest of the ice in the cooler. I just stood there, confused. What is this? Alex rolled her eyes, as if I was the stupidest person on earth. It's my party, obviously, for hitting 50,000. And I looked at the banner again. Underneath congratulations, someone had, in shaky Sharpie, written Alex and 50,000. My stomach went cold. This is for you. Today, on my graduation. Don't be so selfish, Maya, Alex said, walking away to greet her friends. God, not everything is about you. I felt my father clap me on the shoulder. Come on, be a good sport. It's a big milestone for your sister. We're proud of both of you. Are you? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Are you proud of me, Dad? What did I graduate with? He blinked. What? With your class. Come on, grab that ice. He didn't know. He hadn't even been listening. I spent the next hour in a daze watching my parents' friends congratulate Alex on her success. I watched my mom present a tiered cake decorated with the TikTok logo. Then my dad went to the front of the yard, hushing the crowd for the big surprise. Now, he said, puffing his chest out, we all know Alex has been working so hard building her brand, and a brand needs to look successful. So, Karen and I decided to invest in her future. He pointed to the street where a flatbed tow truck was pulling up. On it was a used, but still very shiny, white BMW convertible. Alex screamed, that genuine, ear-piercing shriek of pure joy. She ran to it as they lowered it. Oh my God, is this for MEEP? My parents were beaming, tears in their eyes as they handed her the keys. And I just snapped. I walked over to my dad. You bought her a car? My dad's smile tightened. Maya. Not now. This is your sister's moment. Not now. I could hear my own voice rising. When is my moment, Dad? I just graduated with the highest honors, and you didn't even notice. Maya, quiet down, my mum hissed, grabbing the not now, my heart broken complete. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene. I pulled my arm away. You threw a party for her followers. You bought her a car. What did you get me? In order to go get more ice. We're taking you out to dinner next week. My dad sputtered. To the Olive Garden. The sheer absurdity of it hit me. A car, I said. You bought her a car. How? You're 2 weeks late on the power bill. The music had stopped. Everyone was watching. My dad's face went from defensive to dark red. That is none of your business. It is my business when the lights are about to be shut off, I yelled. How did you get this? We took out a second mortgage, my mother whispered. The words just hung there. A second mortgage. On a house they were already barely affording. You... what? It was for Alex's brand trips. My mom cried, as if that explained it. And the car, and this party. You're insane, I said, the words coming out flat and dead. You've leveraged this entire family's future on her. That's when my father stepped forward. His face was pale, and for the first time I saw real, cold fury in his eyes. At me. You're right, he said, his voice terrifyingly low. "You're a smart-ass engineer now. You're so much better than us, so go be one." "What?" "Go on. You're so smart. You've got it all figured out. Go find your own place. We need the money. We have to support Alex." I looked at my mom. Mom. She just sobbed into her hands, turning away from me. "Fine," I whispered. I went inside. I didn't pack. I just grabbed my laptop, my phone charger, and the manila envelope that held my diploma. I walked out the front door, past the BMW, past my crying mother, past my furious father, and past Alex, who was already back in the driver's seat, taking a selfie. I got in my 2005 Toyota Camry, the one I paid for myself, and put my diploma on the passenger seat. I just drove, and I didn't look back. The first night, I slept in a Walmart parking lot. The second night, a 24-hour grocery store, until a security guard tapped on my window at 3 a.m. After that, I found a dead-end street near a city park. It was quiet, it was dark, and it was the most terrifying, humiliating place I'd ever been. I was a software engineer with the highest honors, and I was homeless. The small savings I had from my campus job evaporated in about a week. Gas to move my car. Sandwiches from gas stations. My phone bill. I was officially, unequivocally, at rock bottom. The diploma in its fancy cover was on my passenger seat, mocking me. I needed cash. I needed it now. And in the real world, a summa cum laude degree doesn't get you a job tomorrow. A willingness to flip burgers does. I walked into a cookout on Capitol Boulevard at 10 p.m. It was pure chaos. Teenagers were yelling, the fryer was buzzing, and the manager looked like he was about to have a nervous breakdown. "Are you hiring?" I asked. He just grunted, shoved the paper application at me, and said, "Can you start right now?" The night shift guy just walked out. "Yes," I said. My new life began. From 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I was Maya, the new girl. I learned to work the milkshake machine. I learned to clean the grease traps. During the day, I parked my car in the shade behind the university library. I couldn't bear to go inside and try to sleep in my driver's seat, the vinyl upholstery sticking to my skin in the Carolina heat. I lasted about 2 weeks on pure animalistic survival, and then the engineer in my brain, the part of me that solves problems, started to wake up. It was fueled by pure, unadulterated rage. I wasn't just angry at my family. I was angry at the stupidity of the system I was in. The cookout was a logistical nightmare. The manager, a guy named Darren, did the schedule on a stained piece of notebook paper he kept taped under the register. It was a disaster. Every night, someone would call out. Someone wouldn't show up. Someone would try to trade shifts via a flurry of confusing texts, and Darren couldn't keep up. We were constantly understaffed or overstaffed. We'd have 6 people on a dead Tuesday night and 2 people on a Friday after the bars let out. One night, I was on my break, 15 minutes I spent in my car. I left my laptop in the trunk. I opened it, the battery at 12%. I tethered it to my phone, which had 1 bar of service, and I just started to build. I wasn't building a company. I was solving a problem. I started with a simple system, a shared access calendar. Then, a shift swapping module. An automated request off function. A manager-side dashboard that would flag potential overtime conflicts. I built an algorithm that could analyze past sales data, which I started logging myself in a notebook, and predict staffing needs. For the next 2 months, I was a machine. I'd work my shift at cookout, my brain absorbing the chaos. Then I'd go to the NC State Library. I finally swallowed my pride and walked in. I was an alumna. I still had access. I'd find a Carol in the back, plug in my laptop, and code. I'd code until the sun came up, sleep for 3 hours in my car, and go back to the restaurant. I called it roster flow. It was lean. It was powerful, and it was real. By the end of the summer, I had 2 things, $400 in cash saved up and a piece of software I knew was brilliant. I used $50 of that cash to buy a ticket to a Tech and Toast meetup at Research Triangle Park. It was one of those awful networking events I'd always avoided. I must have looked like a ghost. I was wearing my cleanest cookout polo shirt. I was underweight and shaking. I didn't network. I stood by the appetizer table until the open pitch segment started, where anyone could have 60 seconds. When my turn came, I walked up. "Hi," I said, my voice cracking. "My name is Maya. I'm a software engineer and I work the night shift at Cookout, and your scheduling systems are broken." I just talked. I told them about Darren. I told them about the shift swapping texts. I told them about the overtime waste. And then I told them how I fixed it. When my 60 seconds were up, the room was dead silent. I figured I'd failed. As I was trying to slip out the door, a man stopped me. He was older, in a crisp blue shirt. "You're the Cookout girl," he said. Yeah. He handed me a card. "Julian Vance, Vance Capital Partners, Charlotte." "I don't usually come to these things," he said. "You were not terrible." "Oh, thanks." That wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. "You didn't pitch a dream. You identified a multi-billion-dollar logistics gap in the service industry. You built the solution, and then you beta tested it yourself. You're a finisher." I just stared at him. "My firm," he continued, "doesn't invest in ideas. We invest in solutions. I want you in my Charlotte office on Monday, 9 a.m. Be prepared to walk me through the entire architecture. And Maya, get a good night's sleep. And for God's sake, buy a new shirt. That was it. He wasn't my savior. He was my first investor, and he was my secret weapon. The next 8 months were not a miracle. They were a blitzkrieg. Julian Vance was not a mentor in the pat you on the back sense. He was a general. The $750,000 seed funding he wired me wasn't magic money. It was fuel, and he expected me to use it to build an engine immediately. The first thing I did was rent a tiny, windowless office in a cheap corporate park in Raleigh. I named the company OptiGrid Solutions because roster flow was the product, not the company. I was no longer Maya, the homeless engineer. I was Maya, founder and CEO. I hired 2 people from my graduating class, 2 other quiet, brilliant coders who hadn't been snapped up by Google. We didn't sleep. We lived on cold pizza and energy drinks. Julian provided the air cover, the lawyers, the accountants, the framework to make us a real taxable entity, but I provided the product. I was the chief architect. I knew the system because I had lived in the system. While my team refined the back end and built a mobile-friendly UI, I went to work on the customer. You want to sell this? Julian asked me over a Zoom call. Yes, I said. Then go sell it. Who's your first customer? The one I know best, I replied. I didn't call their corporate headquarters. I put the roster flow beta on a cheap tablet and went back to the cookout on Capitol Boulevard. I walked in at 4 p.m. before the dinner rush. Darren, the manager, was there. He looked more exhausted than ever. Maya, he said, squinting. You look different. Hey, Darren, I do. Can I buy you a coffee for 10 minutes? We sat in a booth. I didn't give him a sales pitch. I just said, remember how much our scheduling sucked? Sucks, he corrected. Still does. I built something to fix it, I said. I handed him the tablet. I watched him tap through the interface. I saw his eyes widen at the shift swap module. I saw him almost smile at the predictive staffing dashboard. Holy hell, Maya, he whispered. This is real. It's real, I said. I want you to use it for free, for this location, for 1 month. Just give me the data. Give me a testimonial. He agreed instantly. That 1-month trial at one location turned into a regional pilot program in 6 weeks. The data was undeniable. Darren's store had cut overtime costs by 30% and staff turnover by 15%. The numbers were beautiful. They were logical. Julian used those numbers to get me a meeting with the regional franchise owner. That meeting was terrifying. It was 12 suits in a boardroom, but I didn't pitch them software. I pitched them profit. 8 months after I slept in my car, I was back in that same boardroom, signing a 2-year, 7-figure contract to roll out OptiGrid's roster flow platform to every cookout in North Carolina. We'd done it. We were a real, viable, profitable company. I had my own apartment. I had a new, reliable car. I had a payroll for 12 employees. And in all that time, I hadn't heard a single word from my family. I didn't exist to them, which, I learned, was a blessing. But you can't outrun gravity. And you can't outrun a second mortgage built on nothing. The call didn't come from them. It came from Mr. Vance. Maya, he said. His voice was all business. I'm in Charlotte, but my partners in Raleigh just flagged something unique. A property in default. The final mediation meeting is tomorrow. The names on the loan are David and Karen. He paused. I felt cold. Yes, that's them. It gets better, he said. The bank that holds their defaulted note? It's Piedmont Trust. The same bank as you know that holds all of OptiGrid's operational accounts. And our new line of credit. I didn't say anything. They've been requesting mediation for weeks, Jillian continued. But they just filed a new request today, citing a familial resource. Maya, they're citing you. I look out my office window. They saw the press release. I whispered. The cookout deal had been in the Raleigh Business Journal last week. A small picture of me. They think you're going to show up with the checkbook and save the house, Julian said. I thought about that night, the party, the BMW. My father's face telling me to get out. No, I said. I'll go. Maya, this isn't a good use of your time. It's not for them, Julian. It's for me. There was a long pause. Understood, he said. Wear the blue blazer. The one from the press release. Yes, I said, I will. So the next morning, I walked into the Piedmont Trust foreclosure office. I wasn't Maya, the night shift worker. I was Mrs. CEO of OptiGrid Solutions, one of their newest and most promising commercial clients. And I saw them. They looked up, their eyes desperate. And for a second, my mother looked relieved. She thought her investment had finally come to pay out. I let my statement hang in the air, the one about family not dumping you on the curb. The reaction was immediate. You. How dare you? My mother, Karen, whispered, her face pale. She was a master of turning her shock into a weapon, of making you feel guilty for wounding her. We were stressed, Maya. We had so much on our plate. You're going to use that? Alexa snapped, her voice high and incredulous. You're going to bring up one bad night to get out of saving our lives? You're unbelievable. You're doing this despite me, aren't you? Because you were always jealous. Jealous? I almost laughed. Jealous of what, Alex? Your 50,000 bots? Your BMW. Where is that car, by the way? Did you sell it to try and make a payment? Her face went white. She had sold it. That's not the point. Quiet, both of you, my father said. He was trying to reclaim his authority. He pointed a finger at me. Listen to me, Maya. You've made your little point. You're upset. We get it. But this is the real world and your family is in trouble. Now you are going to. I am going to do nothing, I said. My voice was so cold, so devoid of the emotion they were used to, that it stopped all of them. Even Mr. Henderson, the bank representative, looked up from his papers. You called this mediation, I continued, not me. You cited me as a familial resource, as if I'm a savings bond you just remembered you had. You think, after 8 months of silence, you can just summon me, and I'll arrive with a checkbook? You're our daughter, my mother cried. Was I your daughter when I was working the night shift at Cookout? Was I your daughter when I was sleeping in my car for 2 weeks because you put my belongings on the lawn? We didn't know, she insisted. You never called. You're right. I said, I didn't, because you taught me a very valuable lesson that night. In our family, you are only worth what you can provide. I was a utility, and when I stopped being a quiet, low-maintenance one and became a problem. I opened the leather portfolio I'd brought, the one with the OptiGrid Solutions logo. You've always been worried about your investments, Dad, so let's look at the books. I slid the first sheet across the table. This is a summary of the tuition for my 4 years at NC State. And these, I said, tapping the next column, are copies of the scholarships, grants, and campus job pay stubs that paid for 100% of it. I cost you nothing. I pushed another paper forward, and this is the screenshot of the text from you, Dad, the one telling me to get my things off the lawn or they're going to the dump. That, he sputtered. I was angry. It was an eviction. I said, my voice flat. It was a severing of ties. You cut the rope, Dad. Don't be surprised I'm not here to catch you when you fall. But you can fix this, my father pleaded, all the anger gone, replaced by a pathetic, desperate whine. Maya, please, call the bank. You have money. We know you do. Just pay it. Pay the note. You can have the house. We'll do anything. I smiled. A small, tight smile. This is the part you really don't understand, I said. I turned to Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson, I assume you're aware that my company, OptiGrid Solutions, moved all of its new commercial accounts to Piedmont Trust last month? Mr. Henderson nodded, his face impassive. Yes, Mrs. My last name. We are very pleased to have your business. My family looked confused. What does that mean? My mother asked. It means, I said, gathering my papers, that this isn't just your bank, it's my bank. And as one of their new high-value commercial clients, I had a lovely chat with the regional manager yesterday. I stood up. The bank's position is firm. The note is in default. The foreclosure will proceed. You bitch! Alexis screamed, lunging across the table. Mr. Henderson was on his feet in a second. You planned this. You humiliated us. You humiliated yourselves, I said, stepping back from the table. You made a bad investment. You thought I was worthless, and you thought Alex was priceless. The market has simply corrected. I turned to Mr. Henderson. My apologies for the scene. I believe my business here is concluded. Of course, Mrs. My last name. Have a good day. I walked to the door. I didn't look back, but I could hear it. I heard my father's choked, broken gasp. I heard Alexis screaming, and I heard my mother's final wail. Maya, don't leave us, please. Where will we go? I paused, my hand on the doorknob. I thought about the Walmart parking lot. I thought about the back of the library. Without turning, I said, I don't know, Mom. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I walked out of the office, into the bright, clean afternoon sun. I got into my car. I took a deep breath, the first one that didn't feel tight in my chest in 8 months. I put the car in drive, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt completely, perfectly, and logically free.